Stop being your thoughts. Start watching them. Buddhist perspective. There is something you've carried with you your entire life. It shapes how you see the world, how you feel, how you react. But here's the strange part. You've never actually seen it. You've never touched it. And yet, you trust it completely. It's your mind. From the moment you wake up, it fills your head with thoughts. Some are helpful. Most are just noise. It tells you who you are, what you should fear, what you should chase. And the most dangerous part, you believe it. You believe every worry, every self-doubt, every memory it replays. But what if your thoughts are not telling you the truth? What if your mind is not you? The Buddha once said, "Nothing whatsoever should be clung to as I or mine." But we do the opposite. We cling to every passing thought as if it defines us. We mistake mental noise for reality. This changes everything. If your thoughts don't define you, then who are you? And if you could step back and see the mind for what it really is, what would happen? This is what we're about to uncover. Chapter 1. Your mind is not you. Have you ever been so lost in a thought that it felt completely real, only to realize later that it wasn't? Maybe you believed someone was ignoring you, just because they were busy. Maybe you kept replaying an awkward moment, feeling embarrassed when no one else even noticed. Or maybe, late at night, one small worry turned into hours of overthinking. If thoughts can mislead us so easily, why do we give them so much control over our lives? One day, a disciple asked the Buddha, "Where is my mind?" The Buddha handed him a bowl of water and said, "Look at your reflection. Is it really there?" The disciple stared into the water. The image seemed real, but he couldn't hold or touch it. It had no substance of its own. Thoughts, the Buddha suggested, are the same. They appear, stay for a moment, and then fade away. They are always changing. If they are so temporary, how can they be who you really are? Modern science supports this ancient wisdom. When scientists study the brain, they don't find a single thinker inside, a fixed self making all the decisions. Instead, they find a constant flow of electrical signals and activity. Just like the ocean keeps producing waves, the brain keeps producing thoughts. But no single wave is the whole ocean, just as no single thought defines who you are. The mind is not a fixed thing. It's a process, always moving. And yet we often treat our thoughts as if they are the ultimate truth. One simple thought, "I'm not good enough," can shape the way we see ourselves. If someone criticizes you, your mind might instantly react. "Why did they say that? Maybe I'm not worthy." But who decided this thought was true? It appeared, made you feel something, and then disappeared, just like a shadow passing by. If thoughts are constantly changing, how can they define who you truly are? This misunderstanding, believing our thoughts are reality, is a major cause of suffering. Social media makes this even worse. You post a picture and wait for likes. If you don't get many, thoughts appear. No one cares. Maybe I'm not interesting. A small event suddenly affects your self-worth. But in truth, it was just your mind making up a story, one that wasn't real. If thoughts are just passing moments, not your true identity, then how does the mind really work? And how can we learn to see it more clearly? Chapter 2. How the Mind Works. Our minds are like a storyteller, always creating stories about ourselves and the world. But unlike a book, we don't put these stories down. We live inside them. Some thoughts make us feel happy, while others bring worry, fear, or sadness. If we pay attention, we'll notice that our thoughts don't just appear randomly. They come from past experiences, emotions, and habits. The Buddha taught that suffering doesn't come from the world itself, but from how our minds interpret it. Once we understand this, we can start seeing thoughts for what they really are. Just passing events in the mind, not absolute truths. Imagine walking down the street, and a stranger gives you an angry look. One person might think, "Did I do something wrong? Do they dislike me?" Another person might think, "Maybe that person is just having a bad day." Same situation, different thoughts, different feelings. This shows that thoughts don't come from the outside world. They come from inside us, shaped by our past, our beliefs, and the stories we tell ourselves. There's a well-known Buddhist story about a man who told the Buddha, "I feel angry whenever someone insults me." The Buddha asked him, "If someone offers you a gift, but you refuse to take it, who does it belong to?" The man replied, "To the person who gave it." The Buddha smiled and said, "Then why do you accept the gift of anger when someone offers it to you?" This simple teaching reminds us that just because a thought or feeling appears, we don't have to accept it or act on it. We have a choice. The mind works through habit. The more we think a certain way, the stronger that habit becomes. Imagine a small path in a forest. If you walk on it every day, it becomes a clear trail. If you stop using it, nature slowly covers it up. Thoughts work the same way. If we keep thinking, "I'm not good enough," that thought becomes the mind's usual path. But if we start thinking, "I'm doing my best and that's enough," over time, a new and better path is formed. We don't always realize how much these habits control our thinking. Imagine you send a message to a friend, and they don't reply. The mind quickly reacts. Are they ignoring me? Did I do something wrong? You feel uneasy. But maybe they were just busy or forgot to reply. The discomfort didn't come from the situation itself. It came from the mind's habit of assuming the worst. We don't always see reality as it is. We see it through the filter of our fears and past experiences. This is why awareness is so important. The Buddha advised, "Do not be led by your thoughts. Be the one who watches them." A beginner in meditation once shared, "At first I thought mindfulness meant stopping thoughts. But I realized it's more like watching a storyteller at work. Before, I believed every story my mind created. Now, I see them forming." This shift, from reacting without thinking to calmly observing, is the first step toward freedom. Once we understand how the mind works, we can see how it creates suffering, and more importantly, how we can free ourselves from it. Chapter 3: How Thoughts Trap You in Suffering. If you've ever worried about something over and over in your mind, you know how heavy overthinking can feel. A small mistake or a comment can play in your mind again and again, and each time it does, the pain seems to grow. Why does the mind do this? Why do simple thoughts have the power to turn a small discomfort into deep suffering? The Buddha gave a helpful example. Imagine you are shot with an arrow. It hurts. That's the first arrow, which is the pain of life. Challenges, mistakes, and losses happen. But then imagine being shot with a second arrow in the same place. That is suffering. The second arrow represents what we do to ourselves. Thinking about the event again and again, judging ourselves, and adding more pain with more thoughts. The first arrow is usually unavoidable, but the second arrow is optional. Most people don't realize that they are constantly shooting themselves with the second arrow. The mind holds on to thoughts, turning small hurts into endless pain. Scientists call this a part of the brain's function, the default mode network. It's responsible for thinking about ourselves, replaying old conversations, worrying about the future, and focusing on me and my story. This is why, even when everything is fine outside, we can still feel suffering inside. Imagine speaking in a meeting and later thinking you didn't express yourself well. That's the first arrow. But then your mind takes over. That was stupid. Everyone must think I'm incompetent. This second arrow starts the suffering. No one else may be thinking about it, but your mind keeps replaying the moment, making the pain worse. This is the trap of thought. People often think they need to control their thoughts, pushing away unwanted ones or trying to stop them. But this often makes the problem worse. A monk once told his disciple, "For the next 5 minutes, don't think of a monkey." The disciple tried, but the more he resisted, the stronger the image of the monkey became. The lesson here is simple. Resisting a thought only makes it stronger. So what's the alternative to fighting with our thoughts? It's allowing them to come and go without struggling. The Buddha compared the mind to a river, always flowing, always changing. If you jump into the river trying to stop it, you'll only exhaust yourself. But if you stand on the riverbank, simply watching the flow, you can see the water pass without getting caught in it. This is not about giving up, but about accepting the mind's nature wisely. This idea works for many mental struggles. Think about insomnia. The harder you try to sleep, the more anxious you become, thinking, "I need to sleep. Tomorrow will be a disaster." But if you stop struggling and just observe your restless mind with acceptance, you often feel less tense and sleep comes more easily. This principle can help with all kinds of suffering that comes from thoughts. The Buddha once told Bahia, a man seeking wisdom, "In seeing, just the seen; in hearing, just the heard." These words show us how to experience life directly, without adding extra thoughts, judgments, or stories. If someone looks at you with a blank expression, just notice it. Don't make up a story that they don't like you. If a message goes unanswered, just note the lack of response. Don't assume something negative. See things clearly. Don't get lost in your mind's stories. Think about how often fear comes not from what is happening right now, but from our thoughts. You might hear your voice recorded and think it sounds strange or different. Why? Because your mind had a different idea of how your voice should sound. This small example shows a bigger truth. The mind is always creating ideas, and we believe them, even when they don't match reality. This is the heart of suffering from thoughts. We believe what the mind tells us, even when its stories are not true. But when we start to see through these illusions, we can experience freedom. And if we are not trapped by thoughts, what is left? What does life feel like when you stop identifying with every passing idea? Chapter 4. When thoughts no longer define you. Living beyond thoughts. Most people don't realize how much they are caught up in their thoughts. From the moment you wake up, your mind starts to run, thinking about plans, worries, judgments, and memories. By the end of the day, your mind feels tired but hasn't really rested. Life can start to feel like a blur, with days passing by without clarity, always lost in thought. But what if there's another way to live? What if you could be fully present right now, instead of being pulled in every direction by every passing thought? Buddhism doesn't ask you to stop thinking. That's impossible. It asks you to see thoughts for what they really are. Just mental events, not who you are. A thought appears, stays for a moment, and then fades away. Suffering happens when we hold on to thoughts, fight them, or react to them as if they define us. Learning to be aware of thoughts without reacting to them is not easy. It takes patience and practice. Your mind has been conditioned for many years to automatically react to every thought. Breaking this habit is like training a wild horse. It may resist at first, but with gentle effort, it will start to calm down. One effective method for developing this awareness is Vipassana meditation. By sitting quietly and focusing on your natural breath, you train your mind to notice thoughts as they come and go without getting caught up in them or judging them. At first, your mind will wander a lot. That's normal. But each time you bring your attention back to the breath, you are strengthening your ability to be aware. Over time, you will begin to see thoughts more like passing clouds, sometimes dark, sometimes light, but always temporary and separate from the wider sky of awareness. This practice goes beyond just sitting in meditation. Imagine someone insults you. Your first reaction might be anger or hurt, but with practice, you can learn to pause. In that moment, you can observe the rising anger as just a feeling, and the insult as just words. You notice the mind beginning to create a story about the situation. By simply watching this process without reacting, the emotion often fades faster and loses its power. This isn't about suppressing your feelings, but about seeing them clearly without letting them control you. The Buddha once said, "Let go of the past, let go of the future, let go of what is in between. With a free heart, simply be." Letting go isn't about forcing yourself to stop thinking. It happens naturally as you understand more deeply that thoughts are not permanent and they don't define you. Many people struggle with this at first. "I try to be present, but my mind keeps pulling me away," is a common experience. That's natural. The mind has spent years lost in thought, so it will take time to change. The key is persistence. Like learning any new skill, mindfulness takes practice. Some days will be clearer than others, but the most important thing is to keep practicing, gently and patiently. In today's world, this is especially difficult. The world is full of distractions, notifications, news, and endless things to keep your mind busy. Silence can feel uncomfortable. But that discomfort shows why this practice is so important. When you learn to sit with yourself, without running away into more thoughts or distractions, you begin to find a deep peace that nothing outside can give you. True freedom isn't about escaping from reality. It's about facing reality as it is, without being controlled by the mind's stories. The suffering we feel from overthinking, anxiety, and self-doubt doesn't come from life itself, but from our attachment to thoughts about life. When we stop identifying with these thoughts, we can discover something deeper that has always been there. Pure awareness, calm presence, and inner peace. This isn't a quick fix. It's a lifelong practice. But every step on this path brings more clarity and freedom. The mind, with its old habits, will resist. It will try to pull you back into its familiar patterns. But if you stay patient, if you keep observing with gentle awareness, something amazing happens. The mental noise begins to settle. Awareness grows. And for the first time, You might experience life not through the filter of constant thinking, but directly as it is. Not lost in the past, not worried about the future. Just here, fully awake, free,